Okay, so I'm itching to garden. I have a feeling we are in fall spring still just because our last frost date isn't till March 15th. It is March the 3rd. I looked at the weather, the next 10-day weather forecast, and it keeps fluctuating. It has for the last week, like what they're predicting it's going to be. But for the most part, the lows are in the 50s and the highs are like 70, 75. So I'm going to risk it. I have this one raised bed that I am going to plant some stuff in and just push the limits a little bit and see what'll sprout. I'm not going to plant my best seeds, but we're just going to see what happens. I'm going to wet the soil and then I'll talk to you about what I plan on planting in this. This is kind of like the front of my garden, so it's going to be like a focal point. I want like the highs and the lows and the overflowing and all the things. I like the cottagey garden look with the mixes of vegetables and flowers together. And that's what I've been doing for like the last 2 years. And it's really helped with the pollinators and things have loved it. So let's get this soil nice and wet and then I'll explain what I'm planting in this old feed trough that I turned into a planter. There's a reason that I wet the soil before I started planting seeds. So these beds were just amended 2 weeks ago. I've actually been going through and watering them every day so that they're nice and moist and ready for planting season. If I were to put seeds in this dry soil and then wet it, or the rain that's supposed to come in the next 2 days, these seeds may get dispersed or just sink further down and then they wouldn't have any chance of sprouting. So me wetting the soil before I plant the seeds in it just makes it nice and a little bit denser so that when the rain comes or when we water it after, hopefully those seeds don't get dispersed into the soil or too far down to where they don't sprout. So one of my favorite ground cover plants and a lower plant, because remember we're planting in heights in this planter, is alyssum. This is the carpet of snow variety. I get these at the Dollar Tree for $1. I just buy handfuls of them at a time every year because I sprinkle them everywhere that I have a blank space. Bees absolutely love this. It is a great pollinator for early in the season when your other pollinators are just starting to poke through the soil and develop blooms. This blooms very early because it is technically frost proof and you plant it in like the spring and the fall. So it's just a great way to attract pollinators early in our season. It will die off as our temperatures get warm here in Florida. But like I said, it's great for the early season. The seeds are super tiny, so I'm just going to sprinkle a lot of them in my hand and sprinkle it right here in this corner. The next thing that I plant is going to be what hangs over the edge on this side of the pot, and it is going to be my edible in this high-low cottage garden bed. And that is going to be the lemon squash. I grew these last year for the first time. This is the most prolific plant. It actually is like a vining squash. It does have tendrils. I didn't try and grow it up a trellis, but I bet that it would grow up a trellis. But I'm going to grow it over the side of this and let it hang because last year it hung out all of my raised beds. So I think it'll look pretty draping down out of this pot. And like I said, this is super prolific, so you probably only need 1 to 2 plants of this. This is a seedier squash because they're little like lemons, hence the name. And it is a seedier squash, but I actually like these better than growing the the crook neck or the straight neck squash. So I'm just going to plant 2 or 3 seeds right here. If all of them sprout, I'll come back and thin them out once we make sure they're all going to survive. Next thing that I'm going to plant is going to be my high, and that is going to be zinnias. I'm going to choose a variety from Dollar Tree. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is going to work, and I don't want to waste my Baker Creek, my Eden Brothers, my more expensive zinnias. So I'm going to use some of the ones that I got from the Dollar Tree so that if the frost comes or the cooler weather and kills all these, I haven't wasted my good seeds. So let me get those seeds and we'll get those planted. I'm just going to put 3 or 4 seeds across the back of this. I don't expect them all to sprout because sometimes the Dollar Tree seeds have a lower germination rate, especially these zinnias because they're super flat. They're not a super thick seed like a squash. I just think 3 spots will do back here on this back corner. And we'll see about these. Another one of my favorite plants to plant on the edge of garden containers is nasturtiums. And I'm going to plant it over here where I planted that alyssum because as that alyssum dies back, these nasturtiums will take off and really bloom. And it's okay if there's still some alyssum and some nasturtium blooming together. But these get really big and there's 2 different kinds of nasturtiums. There's like a bush nasturtium, I guess that's what you would call it. And then there's like the viney one that gets really big. These are the dwarf, so it'll stay smaller, but it will still hang over the edge. So I didn't realize that I had 1 pack of nasturtium seeds left, so I actually went on Baker Creek a little while ago before I came out here, and I bought more nasturtium seeds. I actually have always struggled to get these to sprout, so, and 1 package doesn't come with very many, so I'm going to put 4 seeds into the ground just in case one of them decides not to sprout. My last thing that I'm going to put in this container is going to go on the back side. It's another, probably higher one, like a zinnia. I think they grew last year to like this tall and then started breaking off. Of course, is borage. I love borage. Everybody says that it spreads like crazy, but I have never had any voluntarily come up on its own. And it might be that I work these beds so much and keep around them weed eated and mowed down, but I've never had any borage just randomly pop up all over the place. So this has like a little purple flower on it. It has a leaf that's very fuzzy. The bees absolutely love it. I planted it in last year with my tomatillos, and as soon as I took the borage out, the leaf-footed bugs took over. And I also planted it in with my eggplants. So it is a companion plant. You can eat the little purple flowers. They say you can eat the leaves, but like I said, they were fuzzy and they were a horrible texture. And I didn't really think the purple flower tasted like anything. So, me and the kids kept trying to eat it and it tasted like nothing. So I just like it for the pollinator purposes. So I'm just going to plant a couple of these seeds across the back, and then that is going to be all for this planter. And we're going to hope and pray that something sprouts and that I'm not totally off on my timing here. We have occasionally gotten that last frost right before Easter, and then Easter is so late this year. And it's way after our last frost date. So hopefully some of this sprouts. I'm going to go ahead and water this in again because like I said, we have a potential for rain coming, and hopefully in the next few days I can show y'all what is sprouted. Of course, it won't be big and beautiful until the real warm temperatures get here, but maybe we got a head start. And if I notice that a frost is coming, this is really easy to cover with a frost cloth. So let's go ahead and get this watered in if this works. And I realized toward the end of the week that our 10-day forecast has no low temperatures and no frost on it. I might get brave enough to plant the rest of my garden. I told y'all in some of my previous videos that I always start my cucumbers and my squash and my zucchini inside and most of my pollinators, but this year I am not. I am going to direct sow all of my squash, cucumbers, etc. I'm just really tired this year. We've had a lot going on, and I don't have the time or the energy to take care of those plants in the greenhouse this year. So it's going to be the first year in a while that I am direct sowing squash, zucchini, seeds, cucumbers out into the garden. So we'll see how it works, and I will see y'all maybe in a few days to plant the rest of the garden, to direct sow the rest of the garden, or maybe in a few weeks to plant the rest of the garden. We're just going to keep watching the weather. So I'll keep y'all updated on my little experiment though, so follow along.